On this episode of Time About the Movies, it's pre-Thanksgiving weekend, and that means we're going to be taking a look at two of the biggest releases of the year, including The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. We also have Vince Vaughn and Delivery Man, the limited release of Disney's Frozen. We'll touch on that, and we'll also take a look at Steve Coogan and Judi Dench in Philomena. So 4 films to take a look at today on this pre-Thanksgiving weekend. This is Time About the Movies.
Catching Fire, rated PG-13, in theaters and IMAX. Buy your tickets now.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up November 22nd, 2013, and we're starting off with the biggest of the new releases, and that is The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. In the sequel to the original Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen, once again played by Jennifer Lawrence, has returned home safely after winning the 74th annual Hunger Games with fellow tribute Peeta Mellark, Josh Hutcherson. Winning means that they must turn around and leave their family and close friends, embarking on a victor's tour of the districts. Along the way, Katniss senses that a rebellion is simmering, but the capital is still very much in control as President Snow prepares for the 75th annual Hunger Games, the Court of Quell, a competition that could change Panem forever. So yeah, 2013 was not looking pretty good at that point. It was up there with 2010 as one of the worst years for movies, in my opinion. The 3 big movies that were supposed to be the big bona fide hits of the year, Iron Man 3, Star Trek Into Darkness, and even Man of Steel, turned out to be disappointments, mostly in Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness. There's still stuff I liked about Man of Steel, though. The rest of the summer blockbusters were kind of mostly lacklusters in general, with the exceptions of stuff like Monsters University, This Is the End, The Great Gatsby, We're the Millers. For the most part, the whole year had a lot of stumbles in terms of the bigger movies, with the exception of stuff like Oz the Great and Powerful. But then we got some really good stuff like Gravity and even Thor the Dark World. But I am happy to say that The Hunger Games: Catching Fire is not only one of the year's best movies, but it's one of the best sequels I've seen in a long time. One of the best action movies of all time, honestly. It ups the ante, it ups the action, it ups the tension, it gives us great character development, it keeps you invested even though you're sitting in there for 2.5 hours. It does everything right that the Twilight movies did horribly, horribly wrong. Everything about this movie just works on so many levels. The first film, while it wasn't perfect, it was an overall really good movie, and the performances and the impressive action sequences kept you invested in it. Here, this one fixes a lot of the flaws from the previous movie and gives us a good movie that every sequel deserves to do. Like, it deserves to up the ante and make it work overall. Great performances all across the board. Jennifer Lawrence, once again, great as Katniss. I think she's one of the best female characters that has been written in a long time with these movies. Her and Josh Hutcherson are great together on screen. They give Liam Hemsworth the biggest story. And unlike in Twilight, where the love triangle element seems forced and really stupid, this one is actually perfected pretty well in here. Woody Harrelson, Stanley Tucci, Donald Sutherland, Elizabeth Banks are a lot of fun in this once again. Jeffrey Wright, Jenna Malone, Sam Claflin, Philip Seymour Hoffman are nice additions to the cast. They evolve all the characters and give them more story to them that doesn't feel forced but feels natural. And when you have the two writers who've written some of the best movies the last couple of years, Simon Beaufoy, who wrote Slumdog Millionaire, and Michael Arndt of Little Miss Sunshine and Toy Story 3 fame, that makes sense overall. The action sequences are fantastic. When we get to the games themselves, they really do up the ante, with the second half being the highlight of the movie. If there's any flaws I have with the film overall, the ending action scene overall is, I felt it kind of being a little anticlimactic and didn't feel like the final action scene of a movie that big should be. Like, when you do a sequel, you want to up the ante in terms of the bigger action overall, and this one really felt like, I don't know, like, I liked it, but at the same time, it really did feel anticlimactic overall. It really did feel like there really wasn't that oomph that it needed to really up itself from the previous movie. Like, I don't know if that was I didn't even know that was the end of the movie until the credits began, honestly. And it doesn't really give us any really big twists, except for a few things that I won't spoil in here if you haven't seen it. But like I said, 2 more movies coming, and really, they do fix it a little bit, but it takes a while with the last 2 films in the series, because Part 1 is not that great. Part 2 fixes a lot of those problems overall, but I mean, I was not expecting this to be as great and as enjoyable as I really saw it, but this movie not only did the original by a wide margin, it's one of the best sequels I've ever seen in my life. It's a great movie. It's just a really fantastic film. What more can you say, man? The Hunger Games: Catching Fire is absolute brilliance all across the board. Simply an amazing, amazing film. So with all of that said, let us go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Vince Vaughn as Delivery Man.
Found out you had 533 kids.
What? There was a mix-up at the fertility clinic.
You were their biological father.
What?
So yeah, this movie is about as self-explanatory as you can get from it. It's a shot-for-shot remake of a Canadian film called Starbuck, in which you follow Vince Vaughn, who's a delivery man for his family's butcher shop, and he realizes that he's got a girlfriend played by Kobe Smulders, but then he finds out that a lawyer representing a sperm bank has found out that he gave 693 donations and has earned a sum of $24,255 during his student years, and basically telling him that he fathered 533 children, and of them, 142 of them have joined a class action lawsuit to force the fertility clinic to reveal the identity of Starbuck, the alias he had used. And he uses this as kind of a way to see all these kids overall, and it's a movie that has a lot of promise to it, and at times it works, but it's one of those films where the idea is good, the execution not so much. It's not that the movie is bad, it's just a movie where it's just kind of like, it's fine, I guess, but it really felt like they left so much on the table for this to be so much more than that. I never saw the original Starbuck movie, so I can't really split the difference between the two films, but I'll give it this. Vince Vaughn is pretty good in it. I think he's very solid here. Chris Pratt has a good side role here, playing his best friend in this. Kobe Smulders is kind of like the stock female love interest in here. Not really given a whole lot to do in here, but she's not terrible. There's nothing about the movie overall that's absolutely abysmal here. It's just there's really not a whole lot there to make it stand out on its own. There is a good idea to it overall, and I think Vince Vaughn does carry the enjoyment factor of it overall, and the idea is pretty solid, but I feel like an extra rewrite of the script really could have elevated this to a whole other level and make it very special on its own. But other than that, though, yeah, it's definitely a film that I would not say to see. I would not say, I'd say maybe once see it, but you're never going to want to watch it again after that. It's a movie where it's just kind of like, it's fine, but nothing spectacular about it. Nothing that really sticks out about it overall, so take that for what you will. That's Delivery Man. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get to our next movie, and that is Disney's latest animated feature, Frozen. Now, why is this the third film on this list here? Well, I'll explain it when we get back.
If we don't do something soon, we'll all freeze to death. Stop the winter, please.
Don't you see? I can't.
You know it all ends tomorrow, so it has to be today.
Let's go bring back summer!
I'm not leaving without you, Elsa. Olaf, you're melting.
Some people are worth melting for. You're just maybe not right this second.
Nothing's in my way.
Hang in there, guys!
You know, it's funny, that trailer I just showed you was one that I didn't see until well after the movie had come out, and I thought it was one of those weird trailers, kind of like, remember when Home Alone 2 had that, Jingle Bells, that Deck the Halls trailer that came out after the movie had already come out? I thought it was one of those things, but when I looked at the video again, that video came out on October 17th, a month before the movie came out, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there, but this is, of course, Frozen. This is the movie that kind of was the equivalent to The Lion King, and you can see why it says in there, experienced the greatest Disney adventure since The Lion King, because, yeah, it was pretty much that type of a hit. It was a movie that was a massive critical success, financial success, of course won the Oscar for Best Original Song and Best Animated Feature, grossed over $400 million in the U.S., making it the highest grossing animated film of all time at that point. I mean, this was a gigantic hit all the way across the board, and really, it's not hard to see why. I mean, this is a movie that is the ultimate crowd pleaser movie in general, and it works all the way for the most part. This is based off of loosely The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, Disney taking another classic story like they did with Andersen's The Little Mermaid. The film tells the story of a fearless princess who sets off on an epic journey alongside a rugged ice trader, his loyal reindeer, and a hapless snowman to find her estranged sister, whose icy powers have trapped the kingdom in eternal water. And this really is a phenomenal movie. I mean, yeah, it got overkill later on, but I don't care, man. This movie is still pretty fun overall. This is a movie that still is very entertaining overall when it's all said and done. Everything about this movie feels like the classic Disney movies from the 80s and 90s. I'm talking about Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and it breaks new grounds like the old Disney movies of the 90s did. There's a lot about this movie I really liked about it. The characters are well done. You do like all these characters. Anna and Elsa are great characters, and I like the fact that they actually portray a queen in here that's not pure evil. That's a really refreshing thing for them. But it's just like, I love the fact that they did that in this movie, because, yeah, they're the typical Disney princess characters, and they are uniquely aware of the stereotypes of all Disney films, such as the great bit about, marrying somebody you met that day, on that day, or Kristoff's great bit about how men act. Also loved how at the end of the film there was a disclaimer that Disney actually threw in there, where they say that, there's a part in the movie where he's talking about how men act, and, there's one of those things where he's talking about, men eating their boogers, like, and Disney actually had a claim at the bottom there, literally saying Kristoff's claims that men eat their boogers is untrue. It's just, I like the fact that they threw that in there as a side joke there. That's something that you probably don't catch unless you really look at the credits overall. I like Kristoff overall. I like the fact that he is a really fun character overall. The comic relief characters are a lot of fun. Sven and Olaf. And I like Hans as a character. They kind of do the same thing they did with Gaston and Beauty and the Beast. And he essentially turns out to be kind of the bad guy in here. This was back before Disney overkilled it with a surprise villain in every single movie. Because that trope this was before that trope got really, really old. But, the voice acting is top-notch. Kristen Bell is great as Anna. Idina Menzel as Elsa is terrific. And something that I thought was kind of interesting, I did not know there was Kristen Bell as Anna until I heard her at the very end of the movie. It's just it's one of those things where I knew she was in there, but I couldn't put it together that was actually her. But Jonathan Groff was pretty good as Kristoff. Josh Gad was great as Olaf. Santiago Fontana was great as Hans. Alan Tudyk has some good funny moments as the Duke of Weaselton, even though I thought at first it was Malcolm McDowell doing the voice, but then again, it's a Disney animated film in the 2010s, and Alan Tudyk's basically the equivalent to John Ratzenberger in the 90s and 2000s, where at Pixar, where he's going to show up in every Pixar movie playing a different voice. The story is very well done. It mixes the classic Disney fairy tale, but adds a lot of new elements to it that makes for one of the really more enjoyable movies to come out in the last few years. And I like the fact that it doesn't resort to modern-day jokes and play down to its audience. It brought both the old and the new together and made something really great. The music is top-notch. Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, who at that point had written for the Book of Mormon and, of course, Winnie the Pooh, they deliver a lot of really good music, and they basically became this generation's Alan Menken and Howard Ashman or Tim Rice, where they wrote a lot of really good songs. And yes, Let It Go is definitely one of the best songs in Disney history. It's one that's, again, it's been overplayed, but you know what? It's a pretty damn good song overall, no question about it. And the best thing about this movie, the animation. It's that classic Disney animation modernized with a 3D computer animated world and perfected beautifully. Tangled was a good starting point for that. Wreck-It Ralph was close to perfecting it, and Frozen perfects it in this case. It's some of the best CG the studio had done up to that point, and they kind of upped the ante with Frozen 2, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't think Disney should stop with the 2D animated movies, but I'm just saying that you can find a way to do a CG movie and then a 2D movie and not just skip over the 2D films. That'd be great. Also, with the mention of Tangled, if you look real closely, Rapunzel and Eugene actually have a cameo in this movie in the opening song of the movie, for the first time in forever. I didn't notice that until well after I saw the film. I thought that was a nice little touch there. So it basically means that Tangled and Frozen are essentially in the same universe together. But if there are any real flaws, it's the bad guy's evil plan. It's really not that thought out. And they don't really tease it early on with the character would turn evil at all. And that's one of those things where it's kind of like, let me put it this way. When they kind of reveal like a specific element before the big reveal of what his purpose is there, it felt more like he looked at that and said, really? That could happen to me if this is the case? Like, it's just like, it didn't feel natural. At least with Gaston, you knew early on that this guy was not on the right, that something was iffy about this guy right from the get-go. But here, it was a little too close to call on that front there. But other than that, though, this is a nearly perfect Disney animated movie. And I won't go as far to say it's the best one they've done since The Lion King, but, because there's been some other good ones, Lilo and Stitch, Princess and the Frog, Winnie the Pooh, but Frozen really is one of their stronger movies overall. 99% of the film works. It's well-paced. The story is great. The animation is gorgeous. The characters are great. It's just Disney making that comeback run they had stronger with every new movie that came out. And you had a really great Mickey Mouse short that came out at the front of it that not a lot of people talk about. The I think it was for the 85th anniversary of Mickey Mouse, Get a Horse, which, you want to talk about a short that combines 2D and 3D very well. That short there is so well done. The 2D captures the spirit and the magic of the Disney cartoons of the 20s, but, I mean, it combines it with 3D very well, and it's one of those things where that should have gotten the Best Animated Short Oscar nomination. I'm sorry, that should have won. Like, I haven't seen the other animated shorts, but I'm sorry, that one was the best one, no matter what. But, I mean, that's just my personal take on it. It's a great short overall, but yeah, I really do love that one a lot, so. Just a great package overall for the holidays. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Steve Coogan and Judi Dench starring in Philomena.
Can you help me find my son?
I immediately was captured by the story.
She had a baby when she was a teenager, and she's kept it secret for 50 years.
Every so often, a film comes along that inspires us and challenges the way we think. Philomena is that movie.
It's not. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but don't go out there saying that it's one of those movies you're going to remember for the rest of your life. No. Not a lot of people remember this movie after it came out. Not to say it's a bad movie, but, I mean, there's certainly much better films than this film here. You got Judi Dench starring as a woman who's been searching for her son for 50 years, and Steve Coogan plays the person that tries to help him find him. And I think you could kind of figure out where the direction of this is going to go, but like I said, it's not a terrible movie. It's cool to see Steve Coogan in a much more dramatic role than usual. And Stephen Frears usually is a solid director who very rarely makes crappy movies. So, and Judi Dench is always going to work no matter what she's in. Overall, it's a movie that I saw it. I thought it was okay. I have no real intentions on coming back to see it again after the first time I saw it. I think there are much better movies unlike this one here, but that's just my personal take on it. I liked it. Not much more to say about it. Nothing too amazing about it. Nothing too groundbreaking about it. Certainly not a movie that's going to make you be like that trailer is. Be like, no, this is the movie you're going to remember for the rest of your life. You're not. You're simply not. But not a bad movie. Philomena, give it a one-time watch. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. And because Frozen was coming out in limited release this week, Thanksgiving weekend is not looking too promising overall. We have the Sylvester Stallone written film Homefront, starring Jason Statham and James Franco. We have a movie that should be good, but not really. Black Nativity. We'll touch on that one. We'll take a look at Spike Lee's remake of Old Boy, starring Josh Brolin. We have the Idris Elba starrer, the biopic about Nelson Mandela, Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. And is that it? Yeah, I believe that's it. Just those 4 films overall. We'll take a look at them next week, and we'll wrap November up. We got one more month of 2013 to go here. So, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. And with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.